Despite being a completely optional location, Wutai is home to some of FF7's most enjoyable events. Memorable among these is the Pagoda of the Five Mightiest, a challenging gauntlet where Yuffie can take on the mighty saints of Wutai one by one. Your reward for reaching the top is well worth it, both in terms of treasure and narrative, but the way down holds some secrets of its own. Upon besting Godo, you can talk to the defeated saints on each floor. If Yuffie is in your party, their dialogue will include words of encouragement and advice. One of these responses is particularly interesting, and comes from the youngster Sheik. Apparently there's a real rare materia down in some underwater tunnel, but I heard it belongs to one of the monsters there. You'll have to use your brains to get hold of it. You can probably figure out what this line is referring to. The underwater tunnel in question is, of course, the big glass pipe leading to the offshore reactor that supplies Junon with energy. An NPC in Under Junon refers to this location by the same name, as do multiple official FF7 guidebooks. While there isn't actually any rare materia to be found here, you can obtain the guidebook key item by morphing an enemy called Ghost Ship. This can then be traded to an old traveler in Qhimm for the underwater or diving materia, which does away with the 20-minute time limit while battling Emerald Weapon. A rare find indeed. But how did Sheik get his info wrong? Well, his dialogue is part of a new side quest introduced in FF7's North American release. In the original Japanese version of the game, the guidebook, not to mention the underwater materia and the NPC in Qhimm who gives it to you, didn't exist yet. Naturally, Sheik's dialogue was different too. The half-correct hint in his newly added lines may be a vestige of an earlier implementation of the Emerald Weapon side quest. Instead of morphing a ghost ship into the guidebook, perhaps players would have been rewarded with the underwater materia directly. Okay, that's an interesting change, but nothing major, right? As it turns out, this isn't the only oddity surrounding FF7's underwater materia. We stated before that this item didn't exist in the original Japanese version of the game. However, a different one did, the Aqualung materia. Aqualung fills the same internal slot in the materia index as underwater later would, but can't be obtained in normal gameplay, only through hacking. However, long before players developed the tools to peek under FF7's hood, they were treated to a glimpse of this materia in the FF7 official establishment file, a promotional encyclopedia published just a week before the game's Japanese release. The OEF featured a number of screenshots from Square's upcoming RPG, but because the book was written before the game went gold, its visuals drew from one of FF7's beta builds. Eagle-eyed readers will therefore notice some discrepancies in what it depicts. Most curious among these is the inclusion of the Aqualung materia. When the OEF released, this information meant little to fans looking forward to FF7, but in the weeks and months after January 31st, speculation exploded. Countless fans were convinced this materia could be found in-game and used to rescue Aerith from her watery tomb. One particularly intriguing rumor, posted just weeks after the game's release by a user named Professor FF, spoke of stealing Aqualung from Sephiroth and diving to the ocean floor on a Moogle chocobo. There, you would encounter a monster called the Life Eater, which would swallow you up and spit you back out as a shadow adrift in the lifestream. Though the author retracted their claim just a day later, talk of the Aqualung materia made its way into dozens of Japanese gaming magazines, and hope for Aerith's potential return only gained strength when players discovered scrap dialogue past the point of her death. Eventually, in late March, another official guidebook called FF7 Dismantled touched on the subject. In it, various FF7 staff members were interviewed about the game's development, and one had this to say. At one point, there was going to be this dungeon you swam to. and if you didn't have the Aqualung materia equipped, you'd drown and be unable to access it. But the plan was discarded during development. It's unclear exactly what this dungeon would have entailed, but fans were quick to fill in the gaps. Their thoughts naturally turned toward Aerith. Maybe there was going to be some Cetra structure to navigate before locating the heroine and returning her to the surface. Then again, it may have just been a more complex version of the sunken Relnica. Either way, it was a tantalizing mystery to consider, and players weren't the only ones who speculated what Aqualung's role might have been. Over 10 years after FF7's release, producer Hironobu Sakaguchi shared an amusing anecdote with Japanese gaming magazine Otonafami. Speaking of FF7, players were really heartbroken about the heroine, Aerith, and the tragedy that befell her. There was all this commotion when rumors started circulating that you could revive her. That was strange, wasn't it? I remember thinking, is it really that big of a deal? But you know, it seems like there actually was some basis for those rumors of her coming back. If I remember correctly, there was something like an oxygen tank, some item that seemed like it could be used to dive underwater and rescue her. Its name was there inside the game's data, but only its name. So you're saying that urban legend about reviving Aerith wasn't totally a myth? All that was left was the item's data, and apparently it was Yuji Horii of all people who found it, the guy behind Dragon Quest. So one day he came up to me and was like, "So, she's coming back, isn't she, Sakaguchi?" When I told him no, she wasn't, he was like, "I know the truth, you've prepared an item to rescue her." I had no idea, and I was like, wait, seriously? That's in the game? As we all know, this scrapped item was repurposed in FF7's North American release as the underwater materia. Though it didn't grant you the ability to save Aerith or explore a secret dungeon, it did give players a leg up on battling Emerald Weapon. Still, a few questions remain about Shake's strange hint. Why, of all people, is Wutai's youngest saint the one to provide players with this information, and in an extremely missable context at that? Is its inaccuracy proof that Square once had different plans for the underwater materia quest? Such a scenario seems unlikely, given FF7 International's focus on its two new super bosses. But when something as sensational as reviving Aerith is on the table, it's only natural speculation will abound.